Hey everyone, welcome to Office Hours. Every day we assemble here and our goal is to answer your questions and help you understand more about technology. That's our goal. This morning we got in and we had a few little difficulties because apparently there was some network stuff. We'll talk about that in a moment. Cindy Drozda from Erie, Colorado is our reader today. So Cindy, what's up in the questions?
Our first question today comes in from Guy Cochran in Seattle, Washington. What is the Cloudflare outage affecting?
Yeah, for a lot of us here arriving for the show this morning, it was a little bit iffy. We had to run around a little bit because something in Los Angeles, apparently, from what I saw in the Down Detector report that I looked at, said that stuff wasn't happening. We were able to get into the show and the panel assembled, but we couldn't get some of our normal tools up. So this seems like it disrupted a lot of stuff for a lot of people. So let's go to Chris Fenwick first. Chris, what was your experience?
My experience this morning, number one, my refrigerator, killing it. It's working great. Toaster, no problems. Coffee maker, everything's fine. However, it's good to know a lot of the internet is built on what I have heard called, and JJ will correct me in my ear, I think they call them microservices, like little tiny, like I need a thing that can handle a password authentication. So you can subscribe as a coder, you can subscribe to a thing, a microservices service that handles those kinds of things. So Cloudflare apparently went down. All kinds of websites were having trouble. I first noticed it early this morning when I was doom scrolling through Twitter trying to get to the end of the internet. And what I saw on Twitter was I could see the initial post, but everything, all the comments were like, oh, we can't fix that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So Cloudflare is one of these things that a lot of stuff is built on top of. And when when that first core pillar goes down, everything breaks. And that's the best I can describe it. But it's good to know that a lot of stuff is built on that. There will be a day when like something really major goes down. And I feel sorry for the world because we're going to be like wandering around, trying to refresh our Facebook, and everybody's going to be really sad. It's going to be difficult.
It always feels to me like somewhere in a server room, somewhere a mouse gnawed through a cord. It was the wrong cord, and everything just went crazy. Ronnie Hofsoy, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so here in Europe we have some serious problems, while you in the US was nicely asleep. Numerous small problems, and I remember coming into the IT industry many years ago, where there was a saying from one of the old IBM engineers that we didn't need more than 5 service centers around the world. And then everyone started laughing at that, and everyone got their own home computers and millions of data centers around the world. And for some reason, we have gone back to the idea of IBM of having just a few really big data centers. And this is the thing that happened today is one of the reasons why I don't think that is a good idea. We are getting more and more big data centers that are centralizing a lot of stuff. Chris was mentioning IoT services or microservices, but there are a lot of big services that really rely on big data centers, like the crash we saw that AWS had the other week here back a few weeks, which impacted the whole world, and it took a long time before everything came up, and of course services like social media is not important, but as Courtney said and Bill said, the things that are really going to awaken us is when the big thing happens, when infrastructure like roads, like trains or ships are, starting to collide because of all these services has stopped for some time. And I really think that IT people are looking into this and starting to find rugged ways to get around this. And I was thinking earlier today, what if I just trusted all the services to come up before we started the show. But I was thinking, what is the what is the next thing to do if we don't have our back-end systems up and running? What would we do on the show? Would we just be started talking, or would we enable questions in YouTube? Or how do we fix that immediate problem? And I'm pretty sure the back-end has some really good ideas on what the secondary thing was to do. So
let's go to Courtney Gooden for his thoughts.
Yeah, I guess we could turn on chat in, which we always keep turned off in Zoom or YouTube. Or you'd use YouTube chat. Here's what you get. I just tried to go also several websites. I was trying to research a question here, and this is the results I'm getting, internal server error, and it shows that, hey, my browser's working, but somewhere Cloudflare in Los Angeles is not working. The website I was trying to go to, Audio Technica, is working. But let me see if I can find it. Here is, if you go to Cloudflare, you find out that they're protecting that website against DNS attacks. Against DDS, distributed denial of service, DDNS attacks. And so they provide that for a lot of websites out there. People subscribe to that. And if Cloudflare is down, you can't get to their website. And apparently we were victims of that this morning, because Cloudflare is protecting some of our websites that use Makana, at least for some people that use Macintoshes. I didn't have any problem with my Windows.
You're saying it was me? Anyway, as you can imagine, there's a ton of chat in Mukana today, and we have a lot of technically very sophisticated people, and it's really hard. I think if you're on our back end, you'll learn more about what's going on here. I'm just noticing a couple. Vic Hernandez says, I found it interesting that the Cloudflare servers identified the browser was properly connected, the host was connecting, the location of the Cloudflare servers, where the connection failed. For me, it was Chicago and Minneapolis. For me, it was Los Angeles here. So obviously this was a large, it's not my fault thing. But the interesting thing this morning when I came on was that I had trouble logging into the back end of our system, and a bunch of us were together, and Jason and other people were helping me try to do it. And I had to get down into the running terminal and trying to get code up. And eventually it got to the point where I literally had to reboot my whole system. So sometimes you get into I tried it when it was down state, and then your computer thinks that's the only way to try it, and you really have to flush kind of everything to get back on. That worked for me, and I'm grateful for it. Chris Fenwick, you had some other thoughts on this?
Yeah, there's some really great comments in chat. Caleb Groom says, when I couldn't make my Chick-fil-A order, I just had to go to the kitchen and cook something.
Oh, dear.
I heard a story recently about, again, one of these sort of microservices, I think, or maybe just a centralized thing, where, and to Ronnie's point, when the big stuff happens, it's going to be really awkward. But apparently, I think it happened in Europe where a central service that manages all of the airport stuff, like routing of gates and purchasing of tickets and stuff, went down, and Europe came to a grinding halt. Apparently, is that true, Ronnie? Did it was about maybe 5-6 months ago that this happened? Do you recall?
That's correct. There was total chaos in a lot of the big airports that use that system. So it was something like 80% or a whole bunch of it. And so we're in for a real world of hurt if people don't take extreme precautions. We're in trouble.
Well, I think we're already some ways past that, because yes, I'm concerned with the macro vision of these huge things like reservation systems, but it can be as simple as somebody can have a home patient on a heart monitor or something like that, and suddenly it can't reach where it needs to be, or the monitor shuts down. So for individuals, we joke about it. I mean, if office hours had gone down, we would all feel miserable about that. We have an unbroken string, and we're all proud of that, and we work very hard to keep providing this information every single day. But no one's going to die if we're not there. But there's a lot of things hanging off the internet in the modern world where people can really be hurt by not having access to things they need to for critical life things. So we take this very seriously. I'm glad we're back up, and thank you everybody on the back end of our show for working so diligently to help us get back to you and provide the information you want. And Hope it never happens again, or at least if it happens again, we can solve it as quickly and easily as these brilliant people did for today. Next question.
Next up is Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York, asking, "Morning, everyone. What does the panel think of GPMI Type B port taking over in the near future as the preferred AV connection of choice?" With a link.
Jason Bache is going to weigh in on this. Jason?
All right. So as much as I don't like HDMI, another proprietary connection that was established in early 2025, I'm not going to hold my breath, especially because apparently it purports to do, I'm looking at this, HDCP with a Chinese encryption layer called ADCP. I'm not going to be holding my breath. Cool thing, but not going to happen.
Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, there have been other, HD over Ethernet has been around for a long time. It never took off. GPMI, give it about 30 years, maybe it could be established as a standard. But the problem is you have to convince all the AV manufacturers to get on board. And that took a really long time for HDMI. And even changing from 0.1 to 0.2 took a long time. So, standards, hardware standards don't change overnight and aren't generally accepted because, hey, everybody's got their stuff. I've got AV equipment from 20 years ago that I'm not about to change simply because it has a better port on it.
Next question.
Coming in from Mimo Live headquarters is Oliver Breidenbach asking, "I've set up a display on a cart in a meeting room. Recommend a low to mid-priced mic I can mount next to the TV on the cart for Zoom to improve on the HuddleCam HD camera built-in mic audio."
Ronnie Hoff, so he's going to help you out here. Ronnie?
I think actually the Huddle camera microphone is good for what is meant to be used for, close-up miking for people sitting in front of the camera. But the solution for the meeting room you have there on the picture, it's kind of difficult to recommend something. I would look into array-based microphones from Sennheiser or Shure. They have these the 9 series microphones that are ceiling mounted. They also have a table version of that is a little bit smaller, not that good. And just place the microphone on an extra table in front of or in the center of the meeting horseshoe setup you have with the tables there. And of course, I guess this cart is going to be used in different types of rooms, but I would never have just a microphone on the far end of the room. I would put microphones closer to the people talking.
Next question.
Here's Jeff Keithley in Texas, of course. Ran into something recently. How many people automatically think that working remotely means working from home? Apparently more than I realized.
Let's start with Jason Bache here. Jason?
The minute I read this question, I'm like, really? Is that what people think? Because, I've worked in other people's homes and offices for 15 years as a consultant, and I never really thought of, that never occurred to me, but I bet you're right. I bet it is very common.
And Courtney Gooden.
Well, until Zoom came around, working remotely meant, you didn't work in the office, you worked out in the field or field work, production was always almost a lot of times working remotely because you'd go out in the field and do your job. Linemen or plumbers or, always work remotely. But after Zoom came around and after that pandemic thing, everyone learned about working remotely over the computer. And now I think it has taken over that term to be, working from home into the office's computer via remote connection.
Chris Fenwick wants to weigh in. Chris?
Yeah, I read something recently about somebody whose boss was complaining or alluding to the fact that because he left the country, the United States, to work remotely, I think he said he went to Spain or something. It doesn't matter. The boss was trying to guilt the guy into saying, "Oh, well, I hope you're enjoying your vacation." He's like, I don't know what you're talking about vacation. I've done all the work that's been requested of me. I'm doing it during U.S. hours. So the guy was like in Spain, but working till like 11 o'clock at night. And he was just in a different place. And the reason he went to Spain, by the way, I think he said he had like a wedding or something to go to. But I think that one of the biggest complaints that management has about working remotely is they feel that people are not as accessible. So if you are working remotely, my recommendation is be present, keep normal hours, respond quickly. And I'm guilty of not doing any of those things well. But make it so the people that you're working for don't have as much to complain about. And I think you can win over even the most backwards thinking management and say, as long as my numbers are up and I'm accessible and you can find me and I'm not like, sitting in the spa all afternoon, be there. I think you can work remotely successfully.
Seems like a lot of people are doing so. I know my wife, who has just gone back to work in a newsroom for the first time in many years, they're on a 3-day must-be present Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule, but Monday and Friday and the weekend. Monday and Friday are all remote. And in their particular case, since they have so many reporters in the field, I think the whole operation understands accountability and process. In fact, it was interesting to me that one of the first things they talked about to her in one of the sessions was maintaining a solid work-life balance. They were worried about people who are reporters literally staying on the story 24/7 for a while they're chasing down leads and things like that. And they've had issues in the past, I believe, nobody articulated this to me specifically, but somebody getting so involved in a story that they just spent weeks working on it, and it hurt their health. I mean, they literally got so wrapped up in trying to uncover the reality behind some breaking news story that they worked themselves into the ground. So I think it can happen both ways. We all know circumstances where somebody gets a remote job and literally sits there and plays with the dogs while they're on the clock. But I think there are a lot of people also that go the other way. And it was a very big plus one for us in our household when we found out they were going to hold her accountable for her time off and taking it. And she's gotten calls saying, "You're not on today. Don't work on this today. This is time off. You must take your time off." We do appreciate a solid work-life balance where your life takes priority too. That's talk about breeding loyalty. Wow. Next question.
Zach Jefferson, Spokane, Washington asks, for the home office, is there a simple way of turning on-off multiple TVs without using the remotes? Like a mini distributed IR blaster that I can automate with my Mac, i.e. when unlocking, turn TVs on.
Jason Bass is going to help you out here. Jason?
I'm sure there's a USB-based IR blaster, but it would give you something that is way more fun. Get the Flipper Zero, play around with it just a little bit, and you will be thanking me.
Courtney Gooden.
Well, if you don't want to delve into the hacker world of Flipper Zero, there's a much simpler way. Just get you one of those home assistants like the Google Home or the Alexa person. I can't say her name too loud because she's listening over my shoulder. And the new version of
Whoops, did you go out or did I go out?
No, she's talking. She's talking right now, and I have Alexa.
What was that about the hacker world just being the wrong way to go there, Courtney?
She's listening so much. You can't hear her because I've got personalized audio turned on if you can't hear her. But she was talking really loud and telling me all about how to activate her, etc. Anyway, you can set up either of those home assistants on your network, and and they have plugins or they have the means of controlling most popular television sets. So I have set up a routine on the A-Lady to automatically, I just say, "A-Lady, going downstairs." And she turns off the TV down in the bedroom. She turns off the lights in the bedroom. She turns on the lights downstairs. She does all that stuff. And they can control TVs. They can turn the TV on and even switch it to a certain input. They can do a whole lot of control over routines, which once you set up that routine, all you have to do is ask for it, and you can have it turn off every TV in the house or turn on all your lights at the same time, et cetera, et cetera. That's the easiest way. You don't have to fumble around for the remotes and punch any buttons at all.
Ronnie Hofsoy.
Yeah, so there are multiple ways of doing this. If you are kind of do-it-yourself type of person, you can probably build something using ESP32 chips for development boards, and just put an IR sender on that, an IR diode, and then you can program whatever you want. If you would like to have something more pre-made, this one from Global Cache is an IP2 IR, which is connected to your Ethernet, and you can have, for instance, BitFocus Companion or BitFocus buttons or whatever other compatible software to control your TVs, and that way you can control on each of these devices. You have 3 outputs, so you have 3 IR blasters that you can send in different directions. You can also have a few extra meters if you need to have it going into the next room. If you're on a second floor or other floors, you can just buy 2 of these and have them connected on your cabled version of your IoT network or Ethernet at home, and you will be able to control everything you would like.
Thank you for those answers. And thank you, Evan, for letting me know that my mic mount was wonky. You saved me from having my Neumann in my lap, which is not a good thing. Next question.
Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas asks, any comments on the fake Air Force One on the sci-fi show Pluribus on Apple TV? How did they make it so realistic, and how would you replicate Air Force One as part of a YouTube video?
Chris Fenwick, you want to dive behind the mask of Hollywood's trickery?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, Paul, define realistic. Have you been on Air Force One? Do you know what it looks like? Is it an exact copy of the actual Air Force One? I don't think so. I mean, I haven't been on it. West Wing did a lot of scenes on Air Force One, and there is a general gestalt or understanding of like, it probably looks something like this. You know, I don't think many people have been in. There's that great photo, or I don't know, you call it great. There's that photo of after Kennedy was shot, where the what's his name was being sworn in. Apparently, that
Johnson.
was on there. Yeah. It's just a set. Who knows how realistic it is? I will say this: there was a great I think it was YouTube. It may have even been pre-YouTube, where somebody did a prank where they made it look like they went through a fence, ran across an airstrip, and spray painted on the belly of Air Force One some thing. And they posted it online, they let it go viral, and then like a couple of weeks later they said, actually, this is what we did. And it was really, it was a fun story, but you know, who knows? I haven't been on Air Force One. I don't know what it looks like.
Courtney Gooden, your thoughts?
I've worked on a number of shows that have included Air Force One, and they have their standing sets in Los Angeles of the interior of Air Force One. Now, the exterior, you can probably buy that. It's a 747 with just a different skin on it. And so there's probably lots of assets online of downloadable 3D models for this. So their CGI department could have just bought one of those models and CGI'd it, and then just had to do the insert of the little guy standing in the doorway. And then all the interiors were shot probably at Aircraft Interiors or there's a place out in Pomona that specializes in types of aircraft just on interior sets for aircraft. So there's lots of those around. And on 24, we built our own Air Force One interior because they shot on it a lot. It was built in a warehouse somewhere. So yeah, they're available. Easy to come by. Look, there it is right there. Easy to find that asset in a 3D model, any 3D model download site.
Back when I was doing a lot of production, I think I got an email once, and I think it may have been that place in Pomona you were talking about, Courtney. And they said, we got all these sets. You need to do something inside an airplane. Just book something for Tuesday at 3 o'clock and hop in, and you get fully outfitted, and they'll change the livery on them, the branding. So if you have to be on a TWA aircraft as opposed to a United aircraft, I'm trying to find old things where I won't disparage any brands or whatever. But anyway, that's just part of the industry. Next question.
Zach Jeffers in Spokane, Washington is back with us. With Studio Universal Power Supply strategy, do you prefer not having anything go down for a short period of time, or keeping critical infrastructure running and give you more time to shut down sensitive things like network-attached storage, etc.?
Jason Bache?
Well, the two aren't mutually exclusive, right? Like, ideally, yes, I'd have enough batteries to have everything run for as long as I would ever need it, in which case I wouldn't need to worry about shutting things down. But no, in practice, generally I guard the computers of the NAS and the network rack, and if the lights go out, so what?
Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, I do something similar. I don't have a huge UPS. I just have 1,500 water here. And the things that I have on the UPS are the network router, the gateway, the optical gateway to the internet, one computer, no lights, no monitors, no cameras, no peripherals. And of course, my laptop, which is running all the time, can run for 4 or 5 hours, once the power goes out. So keeping the network connection up and the Wi-Fi up lets me continue on after we lose, even if the whole neighborhood loses power, I can continue on and on my laptop or phone and still stay connected for a few hours more, or I can hook up external batteries to the phone and stay connected for quite a while. And that UPS can run those three things. I'll shut off the computer if I don't need it, the desktop computer if I don't need it, and just go to the battery-powered computers, and then it can last a couple of hours on the UPS.
Next question.
Here's Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas asking, how effective is the Roland CGM-30 Gooseneck Microphone for the Roland UVC-02 web presentation dock? And is there a better mic that would fit similarly in the UVC-02 mic dock?
Courtney Gooden, you're going to help out?
The Roland, I haven't looked at the Roland, but it probably will work just fine. Who makes a whole lot of these is Audio-Technica. They're kind of the king of I tried to go to their website, but they're behind Cloudflare. So here's a selection of their different gooseneck microphones that would plug into that connector that sits on the top of that particular Roland interface. So you can get these in a variety of cardioid condensers. Also, they have they've got a couple of dynamic microphones as well. So check Audio-Technica's gooseneck microphone selection out. They have a variety of prices from $129 up to about $350. So that's another source.
Next question.
Next one's from Zach Jeffers in Spokane, Washington. With recent outages with Cloudflare, AWS, Azure, etc., when planning your uptime guarantee for production cloud systems, do you plan for multi-host distribution or simply falling back on that service's nines if you're not able to stay up?
Jason Bache is going to help us out here. Jason?
I feel like I can channel Alex, and I will give the answer that I think I've heard him say so many times. If your primary way of broadcasting is the internet, then you've got 4 ways out, right? You've got a primary, you've got a secondary, you've got a tertiary, and you've got an alternate. And, if all of those things go down at the same time, then there isn't an internet to broadcast to. Keep in mind, with a satellite truck and your own separate what's it called? I'm blanking. Basically, your own separate relay. Cloudflare wouldn't, for example, have affected anything at all about this. And that's probably one of the reasons that Alex isn't highly in the cloud just yet, cautiously, but not quite. So the answer is there's no wrong answer, and just, stick to your contract.
Ronnie Hasso is going to take it to the next level. Ronnie?
I think for many years we've been kind of used to all these big services like AWS and Azure, etc., to be pretty stable. And for most non-extremely critical services, we haven't tried to solve that problem that actually didn't maybe exist until lately. So With the big system problems we've had this year, or maybe just the last 6 months, we've started to look into maybe we need to be thinking a little bit harder about solving these potential problems in a more agile way. So this is something that is probably popping up on the radars of a lot of companies and service providers these days.
Jeff Keithley noted in the comments, if it's important enough and pays enough, multiple cloud deployments are part of the basic plan. I'm seeing a lot of nodding from people on the panel for that. Hey, don't forget, this show is entirely run by your questions. We take your questions, we chat about your questions, and you can vote on those questions in our Mocana Q&A system. So go to officehours.global/join if you're not in it and would like to be. You'll find a really robust and interesting chat. Today was particularly interesting because of all of our issues with that Cloudflare shutdown at the beginning of the show. So I think there's a lot to learn on that as well. That's officehours.global/join. Next question.
Next up is Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia, USA. I'm working with a senior citizen center. There are 7 people watching a Zoom meeting service on a Windows computer. I want to connect the computer to the television that's in the center. Is there any suggestion?
Courtney Gooden is going to start us off here. Courtney?
Well, if it's a big screen TV, almost all of them these days have HDMI inputs, and most Windows computers have HDMI outputs. So plug the Windows computer into an HDMI cable and run it over to the big screen TV, and then just set it up as an external screen. If you have one already plugged in, most computers can power 2 screens. So do it that way.
Jason Beige.
First, I think this is a great idea. Second, just remember that if you plug it into the TV, you might carry the audio into the TV speaker, and that could mess with the microphone. So just be sure that you have absolutely locked down where the audio is coming from.
That's right. And you might have to turn volume off or something like that before you switch modes. Courtney, you wanted to get back?
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say is if the computer is, it depends on what you're streaming on. If you're streaming on, let's say, YouTube or something else, there are little streaming devices, if they don't already have one plugged into that TV and they have Wi-Fi in the center, you can get something like this for as cheap as $20 from Walmart. These on 4K streaming devices, which will plug into the TV. And then you can just download the YouTube app onto that particular streaming device and set it to go to your worship services YouTube channel. And they can view it that way without having to have a computer hooked up to it. They can just watch it streaming live over YouTube.
Next question.
Panelist Ronnie Hofsoy in Tromsø, Norway asks, I just can't seem to get remote guests to look in the camera. Should we start sending prompters and just try to solve all the issues that the increased complexity will add to the equation?
Oh, does this one resonate with me, Ronnie? Because I had such a difficulty at the first at least 2.5 years I was here on Office Hours. I used to think for me it was because every time I was on talkback on a show of some kind, I was usually just on audio, which means that I could do all sorts of other things. So I would keep talking like I was trying to turn up volumes on the board or check the UPI or something like that. I just never paid attention to locking my head and looking straight into a camera at all. And boy, it's been hard for me to make this transition. So I think some people naturally are just kind of eye wanderers. I am in that category as well. I will say that sometimes I would just try to design a show where they didn't have to look in the camera. We've all seen that kind of interview thing where the camera's off center and you're getting kind of a side 3/4 profile shot of something. That kind of makes it go away a little bit. But in this modern thing of just be in the center and look into the camera that we see so much on TV, eye contact is a challenge. In fact, the only person who's ever helped me really do it is my wife, who just says, look at me. When we were early dating, you're not listening to me. Look at me, make eye contact. And it was not something I naturally did. And she had to kind of reprogram some of my brain. You were talking to that guy and he was really interesting, but you weren't looking at him. She just used to hit me up all the time for that kind of thing, and eventually made me a little more guilty, but still not great at it, but I'm trying. Courtney Gooden, do you have a thought before we go back to Ronnie?
Yeah, there's a cheaper way to go, for years, and we still use this today for teleprompters on Steadicams and things like that. It's just get you a 5-inch monitor or a 7-inch monitor and stick it directly above the lens, so it's almost touching the lens. And eye contact into that monitor and make that the monitor that they're looking at for Zoom, preferably for the speaker in speaker view. And they will then know to look, and they'll look at that monitor that's right above the lens, and you really can't tell from about 3 feet away, you really can't tell that their eye contact is 2 inches above the lens instead of into the lens. At least it'll get them in the right direction and right down the barrel.
Chris Fenwick wants to, let's go to Ronnie. Ronnie, it's your question. Ronnie, you want to emphasize something?
Yes. So we've tried everything, and it seems to kind of culminate in the fact that if there is a display that the remote guest can look at instead of looking directly into the camera, they will look at the display. So to Courtney's idea, we do have displays that we have this small, I think it's 5.5 inch or something, that we can add to the kit when we are sending out. And frankly, to be honest, I've been starting to think maybe just shut down the display and move it away from the eyesight so that they never have a display to look at. They only concentrate on the camera. But who knows what will be the best. We are still looking for solutions well into 2025, soon 2026.
Yeah. Chris Fenwick, your thoughts?
Yeah, Ronnie, I think normalizing prompters is really the best thing. I mean, the real question for you is, one, is it live? Two, it is. Okay. So two, and I will tell you this, we have resorted to doing, because we do post, we have resorted to doing a whole lot of the AI eye correction stuff. And I got to say, 85% of the time, it's good. It's pretty good. But you can't do that yet live. I think we need to normalize prompters. And I always go back to, guilting people into making them look bad. I mean, at some point, somebody has to take, personal responsibility for, brushing their hair and brushing their teeth and putting on a clean shirt and turning their prompter on. I mean, at a certain point, it just needs to happen. Seems like it.
Yeah, I have one more thought, which is one of the things that made a huge difference for me. I have a teleprompter in front of me, and my goal originally was just bullet points, to make sure I stay on topic by bullet points. I wanted as little gack, I wanted as little text on the screen. I didn't want to read long prompter rules and things like that. But here on office hours, you all know who from Zoom, you can have a panel view. I stumbled onto exchanging that live view with panel view. And so now my panel view is what shows on my monitor 99% of the time. And I find I naturally just want to see what's my effect on everybody on there? Is somebody off doing some research? So if so, I won't address them directly in the other calls that I make and things like that. Moving from a specific person to a group of people really made a difference in the amount of eye contact I make, because I want to look at the people I'm working with, not just a single person. So that was a huge difference. And my wife told me, hey, there we go. We're getting a picture on another feed there. Chris Fenwick was showing us that panel view can be a real big eye magnet during a show. Chris, you want to get in?
I have a quick question, because I know that a lot of people here use prompters. What do you guys put in your prompter? Do you put speaker view or do you put panel view? I'm just curious. For example, Jason, what do you use?
It depends. During office hours, usually it's just set for the main Zoom window so that I can see all of you.
So it's the panel view.
It's the panel
How about you,
view.
Ronnie? You're obviously using a prompter. What do you do?
Yeah, I use panel view as much, also in meetings, so that I have all persons in front of me. I don't need, in meetings, I don't need notes or anything. And I just have to do the same as Bill and look people in the eye. right now in this broadcast, I don't even have the prompter display turned on. I just know the camera is there and look into it constantly when I'm talking. So
once again, Ronnie's showing off. He's better than all of us.
Yeah, that's but of course I can't have remote guests that never done that before.
Right.
Getting used to that, they will tend to look at the display and look at us that are in the meeting.
Right.
Yeah, I think at some point when you've done enough of this and you are comfortable, this kind of thing works really well because you understand when you're on and when you're not on. I think for the first time somebody does that, if you threw up a panel view for them, they might just get so interested in looking around that they forget their cues coming up and things like that. I don't know. Interesting. Well, there we all are. There's anyway, it's just something you have to learn. I think the more time you spend on prompter, the easier it gets for you. Next question.
Zach Jeffers in Spokane, Washington has a question for Jason. Who should choose an OWC Thunderblade over an Express 80G?
Jason?
Great question. Anybody that needs completely sustained read-write and redundancy. So the benefit of RAID and the ability to daisy chain drives, pretty much the difference, I guess I know what you're after, Zach. The speed of the Express 80, the 1M2, is somewhat comparable because it's extremely fast. It tops out at, I think, 6,000 megabytes per second, which is 6 gigabytes per second. The Thunderblade is designed for professional workflows where it is constantly being used and relied upon by professionals. So if you're a DIT, if you're on set, if you're like Alex and you're rendering the Blackmagic spatial camera, that's really what the Thunderblade technology will excel in. And if you want to use it as a jump drive, I suppose you could, but it's a little bit expensive for that.
Ronnie Hofsaway.
Yeah, and Zach, don't forget about the bragging rights it will give you. It's amazing.
Sometimes you spend a lot of money, you get a lot in return for it. Hey, don't forget, we sometimes have special shows, and tonight is one of them at 6 p.m. Pacific. We are doing a interview. Actually, I'm going to host Felipe Nardi, the founder of Inside the Show. For those of you who enjoy office hours and you've said, I'd like to do something like this, he is in Rio de Janeiro, and he has a system for doing these kind of things on the web that is pretty automated and pretty cool. So we'll be talking about that at 6 o'clock tonight, right here where you normally find office hours. So check it out. Next question.
Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia is back with us. It has been a few weeks with the iPhone 17. Is there anything new to share?
Let's see. Who raised a hand on this? Jason Bache. Jason?
I still like orange. Takes better pictures. Not sure if it's worth the money.
There's some resolution bump in the orange color. Is it reflecting infrared different?
No, I'm just being ridiculous. Okay. No, honestly, I like it. I am shocked. This is probably the first iPhone that I've ever had where if, I fall asleep and it's next to me on the bedside table and I don't put it on its little charge thing, I don't wake up to a completely dead phone, which is kind of its own small miracle.
So the battery duration
it can
has
go
improved.
Really, really low. It's, like the Cadillac North Star system, if it could go down to the 3 nanometer version.
Okay. Well, cool. There you go. They do seem to improve I think every manufacturer tries to improve every phone, every iteration. And so if you can get up into the current phones, I think you get stuff with that. Next question.
Coming to us through the QR code, Harold Williams in Portsmouth, Virginia asks, Blackmagic has updated the ATEM Television Studio switchers to include support for SRT streaming. If the ATEM can receive RTMP input from a Blackmagic camera, does this mean that the ATEM can also handle remote contributions over SRT and RTMP?
Jason Bache, what do you think?
The short answer is yes, theoretically yes. Keep in mind, you can't just take an encoder and point it at it. It has to be Blackmagic hardware. That said, I don't see why not.
Courtney Gooden?
Yeah, they've been doing this over the streaming bridge for a while now. The tricky part is you have to poke holes in your firewall and open up certain ports. And they had a way of doing that automatically with a streaming bridge. So you could probably do it for another contributor if you know what port they're coming in on, et cetera, so that you can port forward to your ATEM and get through the firewall in your router.
Jason, you wanted to come back?
The way that they do it is very clever. The contributor basically drops on the internet, and it gives the host a tiny file, and you share the file with the host, and that is basically the dial home, and that's how it finds its way through the public internet. And yes, it is still somewhat picky about having ports opened.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael asks the panel, do you think that there will be backlash to relying on the big cloud providers with the rash of outages that have occurred?
Jason, what's your gut feeling?
I mean, it just depends on how frequently this occurs. Cloudflare does not go down frequently, so not really.
Yeah, and here we are at office hours. We've been going on to do this show live for 2,000, I think it's close to 2,100 days straight, and we've never missed a show, which means that all the services we require, there have been some momentary lapses, not lapses in the show, but momentary things we've had to work around, like this morning, that actually didn't show up. I mean, this is, I was just posted in, this is show 2065. Where we have been here every day, and the infrastructure has worked successfully to get this show out to the world 2,065 times. So there you go. Chris Fenwick, thoughts?
Oh, first of all, according to Jeff Keithley, it hasn't been a rash. But I think that we have a very short attention span, and we forget things. The average user just, by tomorrow, nobody will think about it. I always find it interesting that Alex talks about when something goes like really wrong, and he goes, "Oh, that's going to be a lot of meetings," where you have to like decipher like what happened, why did it happen, who's responsible for it happening, what are we going to do so that it never happens again, and who's going to pay for this. And so, for those of us not involved in those meetings, no, it won't change our behavior like at all. If you're heavily involved in those meetings, maybe.
Yeah. Well, after action reports, I mean, we've done it for every show I've ever been involved in. And you try to, it turned out there was a weakness in this thing. Can we throw something at it to make sure it's not a weakness the next time? Courtney, your thoughts? Whoops, Courtney? There you go.
Sorry, Cloudflare problem.
That is the excuse du jour today. Didn't make your meeting.
Clicking on the microphone.
Cloudflare problem.
Wouldn't unmute. I don't know what's going on with my computer. You're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. Cloudflare is there to prevent distributed denial of service and to allow you to scale your input if suddenly you get an inrush, if you have something on your website that becomes a meme or something, of you being able to handle all a ton of requests simultaneously. And if you don't have something like a scalable host, you can be vulnerable to attacks from third parties and nation states to take your individual website down. But of course, the weak link is Cloudflare, is the company that's providing that service or that expandability to handle your traffic. So, and usually those sites like Cloudflare are pretty well protected. But if there is like a nationwide power outage, usually they're covered by giant UPSs, which can run them for long periods of time. But if there's somebody cuts a main fiber optic feed to a certain part of the country, and one of the backbones gets severed, then you might have some trouble. And they get problems with the oversea fiber going all the time. Some ship will drag an anchor across a fiber cable and take out an entire country somewhere.
Which would not be good. Hey, Don't forget, if you value what we do here, there are a few ways you can help us. We've been doing this for a long time, and we like to keep it going, but it does take a lot of volunteer effort, and occasionally there are some charges involved. So if you want to help, you can like and subscribe our YouTube channel. That's the simplest way. You can volunteer at officehours.global/volunteer, become part of the incredible team of incredibly nice people who make this happen every single day, or you can simply donate at officehours.global/donate if you'd like to toss a few bucks our way and help us keep going after 2,000 shows plus and maybe get toward 3,000. Thank you. Next question.
Zach Jefferson, Spokane, Washington. The new Sony A7V camera will be launching soon. As a Sony shooter myself, this camera seems like a great hybrid body to add next to my A7S III. I'm curious on the studio setup. Would you rather put the hours on the hybrid sensor or the video body?
Oh, that's one of those things. Zach, Ronnie Hofsway is going to weigh in on this.
Yeah, I haven't studied the new camera too much, but being a long-time user of the A7S IIIs, they are amazing. We use it for everything, even if we have a long distance down to the stage in a really dark stage. Putting A7S IIIs with the 200 to 600 lenses is awesome. So I just hope that this new camera will be the same exact color science. Even Sony has some difference in the color sciences they are using. So I just cross my fingers that this camera will as well have a very similar color science that the A7S IIIs or the A7 series cameras. So crossing my fingers, and we'll probably have some chance to test it as soon as it arrives in the stores.
I want to know if A7S4 or A7 IV is jealous of having been skipped over. They moved from 3 to V, which I think is the Roman numeral 5. So that must be a pretty big update. I'll have to look into that. Next question.
This one's from Jeff Keithley in Texas, of course. Why do you think that it seems the majority of Office Hours panelists and producers are using Macs primarily?
Boy, this is, we're going to keep this polite and unreligious. Jason Bache.
I'll give you both answers. On one side, you have because for the most part, we want our things to work reliably and kind of be a tool where we don't have to think about it. And the other side, which is we are snobby elitists with more dollars than cents. Take your pick.
Chris Fenwick.
Yeah, Mr. Keithley, I think you know me well enough to know that I am not here to answer your questions and to be a technological service to society and to help people wade their way through the tons of things that they have to learn to be better at, AV and streaming. I'm here because I'm a vain, egotistical, self-absorbed narcissist, and I want to be on TV, and that is the kind of person that buys a Macintosh. So the reason I come here is so that my face hopefully shows up as the thumbnail as my wife is scrolling through YouTube. So that's why I'm here, and yes, I use a Macintosh, but that's just comes with the territory.
I resemble that remark. Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, everyone's nailed it so far. Yeah, it's just basically show-offs. Yeah, it's basically the people say, hey, I have money and I want to show you.
That's right.
So I buy overpriced hardware, so doesn't everyone?
Ronnie Hofsaway. Can you add some insanity in this?
I got a Mac Mini M4, and that's not to show off because it's so small and powerful, so it can't be that. But I've seen a well-known YouTuber the other day was talking about going to the Mac platform, and one of his sane reasons was that there are some softwares that are only available on the Mac platform. So he's type of a music producer, and Logic Pro is only running on Macs, and he has been using Logic and a lot of other types of software for doing that. And for some reason, we see that Logic is being used by a lot of music producers. So that could be one of the reasons that a few of us that are using Macs today actually were using Mac-only software because it was the one that we chose. Another thing is that I think actually Mac is more stable. And one of the reasons for that is, of course, that Apple has full control over all the hardware aspects, etc. Even though that upgrades to Tahoe this last weeks has given me some really hard frustrations. And even as we discussed before going live on this show, I had some problems with one of the intercom interfaces. I couldn't push the correct buttons. So there are obvious problems in that camp as well. So we shouldn't be like talking really good about Mac. We should also mention all the problems we have using Macs.
Cindy?
Just for the record, I have 2 of each.
Oh, there you go. You're agnostic in the internecine
Multilingual.
PC versus multi-computer lingual. Excellent. Jason.
It's not for lack of knowledge. Keep in mind, I make way more money when my clients go PC. So we'll just leave that there.
My favorite from there, Mickey Mackachor, I came up with an actual potential reason why we tend to run Mac, and that is many learned of office hours from Alex Lindsay's Apple podcast. That was a big thing in the early days. So I think that's why we've always been a little heavily. Alex has been a user and fan of Macs for a long time. I got in here early, and it was easy for me too. And I had the same experience. I appreciate hugely people like Courtney who have been deeply PC-based for things, because I learned how wrong I was about some of the things I didn't think it worked as well at. And for people who are serious computer people who want to get in the back end, those have typically throughout my life been the people who are most loyal and most passionate about PCs, because they feel like it's an enabling technology for people with a technological bent, and they can do more faster and have more control over their experiences. Some of us just want to use the machines and get the job done that we need to get done. Others love digging under the hood and getting down into the OS. Next question. Wait, that's it. There are no more questions. There is no next here. Oh my God, it's almost the top of the hour. I was having so much fun talking about this that I completely forgot. Yeah. Hey, thank you all for being here today. As you know, we do this every single day, and the only reason we can get this show off the ground every day is because all of you, first and foremost, our producers, those of you who put questions in the queue, vote on those questions. Without you, this show doesn't have anything to talk about. So that's huge. To the panelists who show up and offer their expertise out to the world and take the risk. I mean, you know, this is where people on this panel are saying things and the whole world can listen to them. And so it's really easy to say, well, that's wrong here. And we get those kind of feedback things all the time, or that's incomplete. I think everybody understands we're all trying our best to answer as accurately as we can based on decades of experience often, but it doesn't mean we're going to get everything right. If I had a list of all the times I've said something wrong in this show, I would need an extra couple of reams of paper. And to our amazing back-end crew, an incredible group of people who do things like today, where we all showed up and we had a serious technical problem. And I think most of us just sat back and went, yeah, crew's going to probably fix this if it's fixable. And sure enough, 20 minutes later, we're on the air. The stats today, the Thalak traversal, 45,000 miles is how far you would have had to travel to get these answers if you went around in the real world, 72,000 kilometers. That is 354 million office hours standard bananas, a version of which Ronnie Hofsoy is showing us in comparison. That looks like Jason has.
My banana is off to terminate some SDI cable. That's what it's going to do.
And can we switch to Ronnie's shot? Ronnie seems to have some droopy real life. No, these are two honest to God bananas. You can see the variability that we cannot tolerate in real bananas versus our standard banana. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching tonight. Extra hours, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Thanks for watching.
All right. You know, only the people with Macintoshes had the problem logging into Makana this morning. Did you know?
Yes, that's because Windows never stops sending telemetry, so there's no problem at all because it's just giving all your data away. Cool.
Tomorrow, the death match, Mac versus PC on office hours.
I think my answer was the most honest. I'm just here for the airtime.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Fenwick just voted for Fenwick and was like, I'm out. Cool.
Yeah.
Vain, egotistical, self-absorbed narcissist.
Hey, back-end, thank you all for being there on comms. And
well done. Seriously.
Yes, seriously.
Yes. Especially
Extraordinarily
getting us back up.
professional.
So
We knew you were dealing with things beyond even your control in some places when a big master service is
I have
not
a
responding.
tech question. I want to talk. Is there any way I can talk whoever is switching the show?